Same setup as last week, guys. Chuck your questions in the Q&A box. I will then give you the opportunity to ask me, and we will roll with it. Q&A, let's go. Not all at once, folks. Dylan Rogers, the great man, is back. Hernsey. The Hearns. Mate, you're going to kick us off today. Let's go. What's your question? Doesn't want to talk. Is that you, Hernsey? Come on. Oh, the Rogers. There he is.
Hello.
Oh, the great man.
How's it going?
Hey, things are good. Hit me up. Let's go.
Mate, should I pay off my circa 6K hex? I want a better pay slip every fortnight.
The hex debt. Mate, that's a great question. So I don't think you should, no. Because I'm pretty sure, don't correct me if I'm wrong here, but hex has recently changed. Instead of tracking CPI being inflation, it now only tracks the wage price index, correct? In terms of
I'm assuming so, yeah.
Yeah. What do you mean you're assuming so? Come on, this is your debt. You should know these things.
I don't.
That's what's happened. So I don't think you should pay it off. Because and the reason I say that is because your money could actually earn you a greater return. Like the wage price index is probably 2% maybe, where you could probably earn 6, 7, 8% on that money. Let me actually confirm that. Wage price index. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Mate, I'm trying to confirm this for you, what it was. 3.5% over the year. There you go. So you can definitely earn more than 3.5% on your money. So don't pay the hex.
I've got weak savings, but what's a great pathway for me to just start investing while I save up for the big deposit?
It's a great question also, Hearns. Sounds like you have a issue with spending cash. Is that correct?
Yeah, I need to decrease my expenditure.
You need to decrease how much you enjoy your life. What I would do is, would you have more control if you didn't have access to the funds?
What do you mean by that? Sorry.
Well, hypothetically speaking, if you put money into a savings account, you can access that savings account so you can spend the money, right?
Oh, right. Yeah. Ideally, I don't want to touch it because I have a bad impulse control when it comes to money. Like if it's there, I'll take it out.
Yeah, so then you probably want to go through something where you can't touch the money, right? Well, paying off your hex debt is a thing that you could do, but it doesn't improve your situation, obviously. It's going to improve your surplus cash by a minor amount. So
Yeah, true.
That's the good thing about I mean, you could start slowly investing into things like shares, just invest into an index fund at a very minimal amount per week to get into the habit of it.
I was thinking that, yeah.
Harder then to access the funds because you obviously have to liquidate and sell them down to use them. So it creates a little bit of friction. Yeah, but you need to not have access to the money and put away an amount of money every single week that you can't touch and you won't miss regardless, you know?
Okay. Do you have any you recommend or just blanket investments like ETFs and shit?
Yeah, it depends on what floats your boat.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'll have a look into that further. Thank you very much for your help.
God bless. Oh, all right. Dylan Rogers, you're first. Oh no, you're not first cab off the rank. Anthony, here we go. The Anthony. Crestani, where are we? Boom. Allowed to talk. Well, you there, Anthony? Hello. Oh no, Hernsy's still here. Whoops, sorry. Let me fix that.
Mute.
Oh, Disabled talking. There we go. You there, Anthony?
Yeah, good mate. How are you?
Mate, I'm good. Happy, what day is it today? It's Wednesday. Happy Wednesday. Tuesday. Shit.
Mate, Wednesday the sun's come out now in Newey, which is nice from this morning.
You're from Newey, are you?
Oh, I used to live in Newey. I live in Cairns at the moment.
In Cairns. There we go. What was the motivation for the move?
I didn't want to be tied to a $1 million mortgage down in Sydney.
There you go. And what do you got
Uh,
now in Cairns?
like a $470,000 mortgage, but a
And I'm
good
assuming
lifestyle.
much better house than what you could have afforded in another location, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Awesome.
Mate, I got a quick one. I've got a couple of investments properties in Sydney, North Parramatta, and Epping, New South Wales.
Apartments.
Houses.
Okay.
The North Parramatta one's fully unencumbered. I don't know what it's worth, 1.8, and the Epping one is probably 2.4 with 100,000 owing on it. So the only debt, which I know is you're going to tell me it's the bad debt, is my primary place of residence. But my plan was to do a couple of duplexes on both properties. But I don't know if I should pay off my primary place of residence first and then reinvest what I've got left over.
Where did these properties come? Did you inherit them or something?
Inherited one of them.
Right, because you just said you didn't want a big mortgage in Sydney, and then you said you have two properties in Sydney.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I've had them. I've had the Parramatta one for, oh God, 90s,
Awesome. And how old are you?
50.
50. So, and one of them is unencumbered, so I'm assuming it's producing some income.
Yeah, but I think the rental yield's about 1.7%, like $650 per week.
And
You
then
know,
you have a sexy land tax bill as well every year, I'm assuming.
yeah, yeah, love it.
Um, so look, the developing them thing is an interesting one. The reality is they probably wouldn't stack up, like they wouldn't be feasible. And the reason I say that is because when you calculate your feasibility, you can't calculate the feasibility based on what you paid for the property. You need to calculate it based on what you could sell the property for today.
Yeah,
So if you said, hey, I can sell this $1.8 million property, for $1.8 million or whatever the other one could sell for, that's what you have to build into your feasibility. And then you put in your build costs and everything else. And you will probably see that the site doesn't stack. Like you're not going to get a 20, 25% net margin out of it,
yeah,
which means it doesn't make sense to do. So if I was in your shoes, you just said that the properties don't produce much income. And it sounds like between the two of them, there's what, $4 million tied up in the 1.8 and 2.2, you said?
yeah. And I'm only making 70 grand off the two of them combined.
Which is terrible. It's
Gross
like
rental yield.
1.5% net gross, and then you got expenses out of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, your land tax bill would be more than that. Would be, yeah?
About 25, 30, yeah.
Yeah, plus then property management fees, repairs and maintenance. So you're not making any money from it. So
No.
I guess you're at the stage of life now where income is more important than growth, right? Like another $1 million growth means fuck all to you because it's not going to give you anything.
Yeah.
So if I was in your shoes, I'd probably sell those properties.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure what the tax would look like if you inherited one of them. But then you probably look at reinvesting that capital into, things that are actually going to give you income. You definitely pay off. You're going to stay in Cairns for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you'd pay off your owner occupier home, and that's then debt free, and you'll have, 3.5 odd million bucks left. And that would give you enough income to be on $150,000, $200,000 a year passive.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to then sort of, I guess, with that 3.5 sort of exit strategy wouldn't be to spend it all until, till I died, maybe leave a legacy for the kids. So
You wouldn't
reinvest
spend
in
it, you'd
something.
invest it. So at the end of
Yeah.
your time, you'd have more than $3.5 million in capital, but you've lived off the income for that period of time. So your kids would inherit the 3.5 and whatever it's grown to, and you've lived off the income. Where at the moment, there is no income and you can't live off growth.
No.
Yeah. So you just invest it for cash flow. You'd get minimal growth on the money. When I say minimal, like it might be 3, 4, 5% per annum, but you wouldn't eat into the capital. Do you have superannuation as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. And then when you turn 60, that superannuation also kicks in and gives you more income.
Yeah, yeah, okay.
You wouldn't have to eat down on that money. I'd probably recommend speaking to a good financial planner. If you want an introduction, I can make one.
Yeah,
Just shoot me an email, jack@henderson.com.au. But that's what I would do. I would definitely wouldn't develop them. And the reason I say that is because if you've still got 400 grand of owner occupier mortgage that you haven't paid off, going to take on $1.5, $2 million to go and build a duplex in debt, not ideal.
yeah, okay, cool, mate. Excellent. Thanks very much, mate. And I'll shoot you an email.
Legend, man. Appreciate it. Take care.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
Ciao. All righty, what have I got to do here next? Who's next cab off the rank? Kiri, you're next. Here we go. All right.
Jack,
Yeah, there we go.
legend, how are you?
Mate, I'm good. How's things your end?
Very good, very good.
It's good, man.
All right, so family question.
Yep. Family.
Oh, it's not my property.
Oh, I was going to say, fuck, I'm a good man to ask about family.
Yeah.
Family,
All right,
yeah.
so there's a couple of houses in the eastern suburbs, like Kensington. One's being lived in, one's a rental property.
Yep.
But it's
houses, are they?
They're houses, yeah, they're homes.
Yep.
It was pre-capital gains. It was bought pre-capital gains, this property. So both properties. And then there's a block of units, like four units. And again, there's no cash at the end of the financial year.
Because you're paying land tax and property.
There's land tax. The rent's not. Yeah, there's a big land tax on the house.
Yeah. So what's total net asset value? Or there's no debt, I'm assuming.
Oh, there's minimal debt, like 400K.
Right. And what are the value of the properties?
Oh, 3.5, and maybe 5.
Isn't that crazy if everyone's listening? There's like $12 million worth of assets there and they're not generating $1 of income.
There's you can't live off it. You can't survive off it.
You can't, of course not. That's why I always say residential is not a good income producer.
But you sell the capital, the property that's got no capital gains on it.
You sell them all.
You sell them all.
Yeah. Is income important to you? Like, how old are you now?
Oh, it's not for me. This is yeah.
How old are your family?
Oh, like 75.
What are they living on, the pension or something?
No, they don't get the pension.
Right. What are they living on?
They're living off the property.
Oh, there's just minimal income though.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, fuck. Probably what's going to happen is someone else is going to inherit them if they don't sell them, and then they will sell them. So, I think the thing is, growth is, like I just said to the last guy, growth is important to a certain point in time, right? And then you realize that you can't live off that shit. So you've built your capital base now. Even if you had to pay capital gains tax, are they owned individually or inside of an entity or something?
No, they're under personal name.
Cool. So you get your capital gains tax discount for if you did pay capital gains tax on any of it, which means the max tax you would pay is 23.5%. On 12 million bucks, you might pay a couple of $1 million worth of tax. You come out with $9 to $10 million net. And
but you're still living in one home. You're not going to sell.
Oh, so they're living in one of the properties.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. So you sell two and keep one.
So what? You sell the block of units?
Was there two houses?
They live in a house.
Oh, so there's one house and one block of. I think you said there was two houses at 3.5 million and then one block of apartments.
There's a house worth 3.5. They live in it. There's another house that's worth 3.5. That's a rental, and there's a block of apartments.
Cool. So you sell the house I don't live in, and you sell the block of apartments I don't live in.
Yep.
And reinvest that money. That is
into what?
Well, it's more geared for cash flow. There's lots of things you can invest in. Depends on your risk appetite. If they love real estate, obviously commercial real estate can be advantageous for cash flow. You might get 6-7% net on your money. So you do the numbers. If you're selling the block of apartments is worth how much?
5.
So you got, say, $8 million combined. If you were getting 6% on that, it's almost 500 grand, a year of income. But it's very illiquid, right? Because you can't go and sell the commercial real estate tomorrow if you needed the cash, which is unlikely if they're in their 70s. Could be invested in, ETFs, could be invested in lots of different things, like just not residential real estate for cash flow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But for growth, it's good because the growth of it's like unbelievable.
Yeah, well, I'm assuming they paid $2 for it.
Or something like that, yeah.
Would have been next to nothing, right? So that's the amazing thing about it. But again, growth is no good to them now. Growth is good to whoever's going to inherit it because they will sell it.
Yeah.
But eventually cash flow becomes more important. And then they'll still have 1 foot in residential because they've still got the house that they live in, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but eventually cash flow.
Hey, so even a home that's capital gains exempt, you get rid of it now.
Well, no, then you said they need someone to live, right?
But they've got another property that's capital gains exempt. The other house is capital gains exempt. So because it was bought pre 84 or whatever it was.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's good. I mean, their house that they live in would be CGT free and the other one is CGT free, which it just means your net figure will be higher. It doesn't change the strategy.
Yeah.
Just means you don't have to pay tax, which is amazing.
Okay.
That is what I would do. If they're 70 now, though, what the fuck are they going to do with the cash flow? That's the other thing. It's what are they going to do with 500 grand a year?
Well, like at the moment, you're sort of not living like a comfortable lifestyle because you're hanging on to this property and like the land tax is a killer.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the big killer is land tax. Yeah. Well, man, sell it down. If you guys don't know how to invest it, then definitely get some advice from someone who can. Super simple to invest it, like relatively risk free.
Yeah.
And you would get a really strong income from it. I'm assuming, do you know if they have superannuation and stuff like that?
Not much.
Yeah, but they still have super. Like if they're over 70, it's probably been rolled into pension phase now. But if it hasn't been, you can potentially contribute some money into super and then the income becomes tax-free. There's lots of cool things that they can do, but that's why the advice is so important.
Yeah.
But definitely sell the properties if cash flow is important to the guys for sure.
Yeah. All right.
All righty.
No worries. Thanks for that.
Pleasure, man.
Thank you.
Mr. Dylan Rogers, big dog. Mate, you're here. Your third cab off the rank. You there, big dog?
Howdy, howdy.
Hey, mate, he's back for round 2.
Absolutely.
Hit me. How's those questions? You come prepared. I like that shit.
Yeah. After the last session.
I can't hear. Oh, there we go. Yeah, let me tell a little story to everyone about Mr. Dylan Rogers. When we had our first ever meeting, I was so impressed with this guy. He comes into the office, sits down, has a full PowerPoint presentation on his computer, and then presents to me about all the things. I thought it was incredible. There you go.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Hit me.
Okay, so commercial.
Yep.
Earlier rather than later.
Mm-hmm.
Do you believe that you can get the same growth on commercial assets at multiple different price points? If service only allows for one more property, would you choose residential or commercial? Better yields, less property management, potential triple net lease, longer lease terms. Obviously, that does come with its own little caveat of multiple different price points. I would be assuming off the bat, the better the asset, you're going to have better the growth. So what's kind of, your residential good growth would be around the 10%. What kind of price point would you see commercial at that 10%?
Well, commercial actually gets decent growth. The difference between commercial and residential is like residential growth is somewhat subjective to the marketplace and what's selling around it, if that makes sense. It's like the price or the value, sorry, of a residential asset is just based on what someone else will pay for it or is paid for similar properties, where commercial is much more like a business, where like the value of a commercial asset is derived purely, or not purely, but like 99% of the value is derived from the income that it produces, the tenant that's in there, what the WALE of the property is, which is essentially the average lease time if it's multiple tenancies. So if you're not getting rental increases regularly, then the value of the asset isn't likely growing significantly. But then you go through inflationary times like we've been through recently, and all of a sudden inflation 6, 7, 8%. Your tenants' leases are pegged to CPI or pegged to inflation. And all of a sudden you get that amount of growth on the property, which is really cool. So yes, you will still get growth. It's a longer tail. The downside to it is, and you would know this better than anyone, like you can buy a residential asset, it can get valued up 5, 10, 15% higher tomorrow, the next day, 6 months time, and you can use that equity to go again. You can't do that in commercial land as easily, because the value of the property hasn't changed 6 months from now because the tenant and what they're paying is still the same. So, but then you get to the back end of your serviceability cap, or what is your serviceability cap right now, and then you start thinking, oh, well, I'm not going to be able to buy any more property. Maybe it's time to go commercial. But I'd probably challenge you to think that maybe you're thinking about things on too short of a time horizon. Like you're looking at right now as like, oh, I'm going to have no serviceability left next year. But what
Yes.
happens in 5 years' time?
Yeah, I'm quite, I guess, aggressive and happy to take a little bit more risk adverse, I guess you could say.
Yeah, so I think, yeah, commercial's good, but yeah, I wouldn't spend sub $1 million on a commercial property.
Sure, okay.
You'll get a really shit retail, or you'll get like a light industrial unit, and there's a fuckload of them, and I probably think there's going to be somewhat of an oversupply of them, because they're getting built left, right, and center.
Sure. Can I just tie into just this second kind of part of the question about retirement plan and selling down and moving into commercial?
Yeah.
At a company level versus own name, because obviously some people have different structures. If it's all in your company name and you've got multiple properties and companies and you're selling down, you can obviously put that money and purchase a commercial property in a company name.
Yeah.
And therefore you've only got the company tax rate that you have to apply.
Which is generally higher for an asset sale than individual, because in a company tax, you pay 30% on asset gains, where you only pay 23.5% if you get the 50% CGT discount in your personal name.
Yes, correct.
Yep.
Or via obviously a trust as well, if you've got a discretionary trust set up.
Yep. And then
and a bucket company. So when you sell down your residential portfolio, in either of a company name or your own name, what structure would you advise to set the commercial property up in? If you want just passive income, would it be better not just have it in your own name, therefore you're not paying the double tax?
Potentially. Well, you don't pay double tax in a company anyway, because you get like franking credits, or you get tax credits. So
yeah, so there'd be more like a retained earnings in the company and you just get a dividend.
Yeah, that's right. And any tax that you've already paid on that money is franked, so you don't pay it again. But there's many different things to think about. Obviously, you could do it in a company, and you said before, you could put, if it's in a bucket company or it's a company that's holding a property, you could push that income into a family trust and then disperse it through the family trust to yourself, your partner, your kids, whatever it is. Generally, the reason people buy commercial properties inside of companies is because they can take advantage of things like lease stock loans, which you can't do in your personal name. And generally, it's not normal people as such buying commercial properties, right? They're generally business owner types of people, so they buy things in entities also for asset protection. I don't think it really matters all that much. Like, it's probably a good question for an accountant based on your individual circumstance, but like, the overall tax savings is going to be minimal, because depending on what the tax rate is in Australia at that point in time, hypothetically speaking, or not hypothetically, like speaking about the current tax rate, I think it's like 0 to 20,000 is tax free, 20,000 to whatever it is taxed at, one tax rate above that is taxed at 30%. And all three of those tiers are lower than what company tax rate is anyway. It's only when you start to get into the 190 plus, you start paying 47 cents on the dollar, and that's when all these other things become sometimes beneficial. Make sense?
Yeah, mate. Yep.
So it depends on how much income's getting pushed out of these things. It depends on how much income you're earning in your individual capacity if you're still working.
Yeah, 100%. Because if commercial assets producing 500K, obviously you don't want to push that out to yourself every year. So you'd want to do that in a very savvy way.
Yeah, that's right. And you could reinvest a portion of the money. You could push a portion out to yourself and your partner. Yeah, there's lots of cool things that you can do. But that's why structuring becomes so important.
Absolutely. Thank you.
James Wrigley talks a lot about this stuff.
Yes, I follow him. Yeah,
he talks a lot about it, which is good. And the last part of the question, PPR flip.
Yes. So I love to do it. Have done it before. Do it again. So PPR flip for CGT free profits. What's your take if we can afford the interest repayments on one more property? So well, look, we could do that. I love renovating, so it's almost a no-brainer for me at this stage would be to, take on a bit of almost a 90% LVR on the next one, and even potentially get a renovation loan and do a PPR flip in a relatively 3 to 6 months time frame, get in, get out, and adhere to obviously the ATO's guidelines of making your property your PPR. So it'd be in the timeframes that would facilitate, but then get out and not pay CGT.
Yeah, I think it's great. Lots of people make lots of money doing that stuff for sure.
And then obviously once that's done that one, to get a little bit more cash, I'd like to do that obviously on a bit more of a company kind of business route, and potentially if that's proven obviously a strategy that works, then why not rinse and repeat that?
For sure. Like if you can do the work yourself, do a flip, do it much cheaper than the average punter can do it.
Yeah.
Pay capital gains tax on the money and make a few $100,000, sometimes more than that, while you're doing it. It's a no-brainer. But, obviously you've got to account for your time and shit like that. So if you've got with your roster, you have chunks of time off, right?
Yeah, I do 5/4, so
yeah, so you've got time doing fuck all, which means it's time well spent, right? Where if you're someone like me, I'm like, if I go flip a property, takes all my time away from something where I can make 20 times more money inside of my own business, if that makes sense. So if there is not a cost of opportunity by you doing that, then it's a no-brainer. And if you've got a roster like that where you're not doing anything on the days off anyway, it's perfect.
Yeah, love it.
Legend.
Thank you
Good
very
shit,
much.
right? My pleasure. Big Paul Zellman, the great. Here he is.
G'day. How's it going?
Hey, things are good. How's things your end?
Yeah, very good. Very good. Little old New Zealand, mate. No problems.
You're in New Zealand?
Yeah, that's the one. That's the one.
You live there or are you traveling there?
Live there. Live here. Born and bred.
Great place. Great place. Whereabouts, south or north?
Auckland. Big old Auckland. Well, not big for New Zealand, for Australian standards, but...
Not much to do there. I went to Auckland once.
No, that's why you make enough money to go to Australia 3 times a year.
There's one cool thing there, that island. What's it called?
Waiheke?
Waiheke, that's right.
Yeah. Everyone loves that. Get on the winos.
The wine, that's right. Mate, hit me with the question.
Yeah, perfect. So current position, sales for property management, bought a blue chip asset with a friend of mine in a joint venture.
Yep.
Just using the uplift from the Reno we did to buy him out, and then also just bought another blue chip with the partner as an investment. But what I wanted to know is, I've watched your video on, the stages. I wanted to know, when you jumped into your own business, was it just a case of you've maxed out serviceability, and also how you manage cash flow? Because obviously the properties do still cost during that stage, jumping into your own business. So yeah, just sort of that transition phase.
Yeah, so for me, it was a multitude of things as to why I changed industries. One of the big things was serviceability, for sure. I also had a desire to get into the industry, and I actually set the goal 2 years prior. I moved to Newcastle. I said in 2 years' time, I'm moving back to Sydney, and I'm getting into property full time.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was because I was chasing what I wanted to do, and I was also content doing it because I knew I couldn't borrow any more money as an investor. I was capped. And then in terms of cash flow, the way that I cash flowed it, I didn't have a huge amount of buffer. Like I did a refinance before I changed or during that sort of transition period. So I did part-time in, buyer's agency world from the March to the October of 2019 it was, March to October of that year. And during that period of time, that's when I was going through doing my refinance, getting a little bit of momentum. So I wasn't putting all of my time into it. I was still full-time employee in the mining industry, and I would just do all long weekends and every single weekend down in Sydney, getting some momentum. And then eventually I got a bit of cash out from my portfolio, put that in the offset account, had a bit of momentum, and then just backed myself, man. But it was pretty choppy the first like 12 to 18 months because I didn't make any money at all for the first like 4 months, like $0. And then from the January to the March of 2020, I made more in that first quarter than I did the whole 12 months prior. Hired 2 staff, and then COVID hit. I didn't fucking make any money again for 6 months. I thought I was this heavy hitter, and then I thought I was going to go broke. And then, you know, and then the marketplace picked back up again, and I got momentum again, and you know, the rest is history. So, it was planned. In short, I had some equity that I could use. I had a buffer sitting there, but at the end of the day, there's only a certain amount of buffer and stuff you can do, right? So you got to set yourself up so you've got a little bit of breathing room, and you're not thinking about money non-stop. But you also then need to go, fuck it. What's the worst case that can happen? I'll just go get another job.
Yeah, I love it. It's
like,
good.
the worst case, I go get another job. There's plenty of them out there.
Yeah, good to know. Good to know, because I'm at a position where I have a equity position in the current company I'm in, thanks to the growth I've created, and I'm just
you're in property management.
Yeah, business. I used to be a property manager and then business development. So, but
Come to Australia, I'll give you a job.
Yeah, I fucking knew. I knew you were gonna say that, eh? But nah. I was thinking about it last week, talking to that guy who was looking at it. But I'm pretty excited to do what I'm doing for next year. So you never know, though. You might get an email from me. I know your email now.
There you go, Jack at Henderson.com.au. It's not hard.
Oh, I suppose the business owner just has to pay double for me for the next year until then, eh?
That's right.
Yeah, I appreciate the insight though, because I'm just getting the urge to absolutely send it, and it's like, whoa, okay, no, this is a big leap. Maybe I should be a little bit more hesitant. But
not a big leap.
What I was planning on doing was literally what you said: just get the reval on this and get enough in the offset, and just look at sending it.
Yeah, look, you don't want to be too conservative, but you also don't want to be dumb either, right? So that's why you've got capital there that you can use. Then it makes things easier. But dude, take the leap. Fuck it.
Fuck it. Appreciate it. Yeah, that's.
Oh fuck, cut him off. Sorry. All right, Anthony Assad the Great. You there, Anthony?
Hey, Jack, how are you?
Hey, I'm good.
What's happening?
Good, man. I'm at the farm at the moment. That's what I'm.
Nice. Look, I won't take too much of your time. Just had a quick one. Just your thoughts around, different purchasing structures. You know, I've started my investment journey a few years back. Purchased, the last 3 in my personal name.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm wondering if I want to sort of accelerate my portfolio, what's your recommendation? Like, what do you see that works for you or worked for you?
Nothing revolutionary that you probably haven't heard me say before. Increase your income. That's by far the big thing that's going to accelerate it.
Yeah.
The structuring piece is good, no doubt about it. But I'm assuming if you've got 3 properties now in your personal name, you've probably used up most, if not all of your capacity.
Yeah. There's not much.
Yeah, so the structuring doesn't work now.
Yeah.
It doesn't work now because you have no personal capacity, so you can't now go borrow inside of entities because you're not going to have any capacity. So the structuring piece works best when you do it from the start.
Okay, gotcha.
Because how much debt have you got at the moment?
Probably around 2 point.
Cool. Let's just say $2 million.
So yeah, cool, 2 million. Yeah.
If you have $2 million worth of debt, if you didn't have the $2 million worth of debt, you would probably have $1.6 to $1.7 million worth of capacity inside of trusts.
Yeah.
Go and buy the same properties that you bought right now, put them inside of trusts. So hypothetically speaking, those trusts then pay for themselves. The rental income grows over time. Hopefully your expenses decrease and they become self-serving. Sure. And then all of a sudden you get $1.7 million worth of capacity again in another trust, which means you can grow much larger. But you have to do that from the start, not halfway through your journey.
Yeah.
What I would focus on now if I was you is to go, well, I've sort of hit my investing limit for the short term. Go back and work out how I can make more money. Like, that's the key. Make money, increase your capacity again, and then start using entities.
Yeah, understood.
Otherwise, you have to sell things down and then start again, essentially.
Yeah. Okay. All right. In the sort of, I've been discussing it with my mates in the sort of process where, or the situation where say I've started my investment journey and I'm going to start building with trusts or whatever different structuring.
Yep.
Say I've started my own company. Would you then sort of suggest building a portfolio based, within that company structure?
You've started a company to trade out of, like as in like a trading.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
What is the company doing?
So buyer's agency.
Cool. So your buyer's agency business, you don't want to buy property inside of that business naturally, because that's a trading entity that if something goes wrong, you don't want any assets in it.
Liable, yeah.
But you would use the income from that entity for serviceability purposes. So go and become the best buyer's agent you can become. Go and make the most amount of money that you can possibly make. And then all of a sudden, I can guarantee it, your serviceability question will go out the window because you'll have lots.
Yeah.
That's the key. So if I was in your shoes, and I have been in your shoes before, like I was the guy who had the, a few $1 million for the property and thought I was earning a lot of money, and then the banks wouldn't lend me any more money. And I went and got, I went and learned how to earn more money.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, serviceability is no longer a thing you think about because you understand how to make more money and make more serviceability. So serviceability is only an issue when you don't know how to create more.
That's true. That's very true. So you reckon just focus on making more income?
150%. Solves all problems.
Yeah.
All money problems. So if you spend more, if you think about how much time you probably spend thinking about, how to grow your investments and how do I do this? Like imagine spending all of that time going, how can I grow my business? What can I do? How can I prospect? How can I meet more people? Where's my next client coming from?
Yeah.
Man, you'll crush it.
So easy. No, I appreciate it, Jack. Killing it, mate. Thank you.
My pleasure, bro. Go hard.
Thank you.
Ciao. Nathan, Adrian, you're next. Adrian. Oh, he's fucking left. It's like, fuck you, Jack. I'm going to ask my question, get out of here. Nathan Payne. Here he is. The great. You there, Nathan?
Hi, mate. How you doing?
Legend. I'm good, man. I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad.
I
had a question. So I've just bought my own occupier last year under the first home buyer scheme.
Congrats, man.
Yes. And not under like an 80% LVR. So my question is like, we've bought an older house, should I focus on renovating the older house to increase the equity, or would you smash down the debt to get under 80% LVR so that we can sort of look at investment properties further on down the track?
It's a great question. Have you had valuations done on your property recently, like through who's your debt with at the moment? Which bank?
It's with NAB at the moment.
NAB? Okay. Have you got like a broker, for example, to run any desktop valuations on your property?
Yeah, I do. So it seems like we do have some equity in the property based on sort of like properties in the area.
Yeah.
But since we only bought in sort of September last year, we won't do anything. And then I think because we're under the scheme as well, you have to sort of look at maybe getting off that before you can draw the equity out of property to look at then investing in other property.
Yeah, you gotta have 80%.
Yeah.
Like you gotta be at an 80% LVR or less. Sorry, I'm yawning. So the thing that I would focus on if I was you, or the thing that's going to have the most impact, really depends on how much serviceability you have, right? Because like how much more money could you borrow right now? Could you borrow, like if you had the equity in your property, could you actually go buy another property, or you don't have the serviceability?
Probably don't have the serviceability at the moment.
Cool. So the thing you should focus on is decreasing the debt, because that's going to do two things. It's going to increase your equity and it's going to increase your serviceability.
Yeah.
If you just renovate the property, that will increase the value of the property, but it won't increase your serviceability.
Okay, sure. And so the property that we have, it's a dual living. So we're renting out downstairs for around about $400 a week, right?
Awesome. Something, is it?
Sorry, what's that?
Is it in Queensland?
It is in Queensland, out on the Sunshine Coast.
Yeah.
Should I pay that straight off the mortgage? Should I leave it in the offset? Should I use it on?
That's the same. That's the same. Whether it's paid off the mortgage, whether it's in your offset, it has the same effect. If you go and re-borrow, like if you went back to the bank, If it's paid off your mortgage, they will look at you as not having that debt. If it's sitting in the offset account, they'll still look at you as having the debt, but then you can just debt recycle the money when you go and buy a new property, which means you take it out of your offset, you pay it off your loan, and then you redraw it back out anyway.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. In the short term, I'd prefer it to be in an offset account as opposed to a redraw facility, because offset account's yours if you ever want to use it, where redraw can get taken away from you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if I can just go back to what Anthony was saying before, how you were saying if he had have started again to go back and set up all of his investments inside of the trust structure, if you're starting from the beginning, if I don't see sort of my, say like if I don't start my own business and I just work a job and my income sort of caps out at 150K, so serviceability is going to be sort of an issue there. Is it better to then structure all investments under a trust structure so that I don't have that personal debt in my name and then I can potentially borrow more and buy more properties?
Yeah, look, it is. Like there's pros and cons to everything, right? So the con to owning properties in entities, from my experience, is you can't claim any deductions against your personal income. Now, if you are, I'm not saying you, but I'm saying if an individual is a lower income earner, and when I say lower, like they're not earning $1 million a year or 500 grand a year, then deductions are important because you claim back 10 or 15 grand a year of deductions, and you know, you can, that's 10% of your salary, for example. So you don't get that in a trust or a company. And I know a lot of people really like the idea of negative gearing and depreciation. So it has a negative effect on deductibility, but it has a positive effect on serviceability. But then eventually what happens is if you're on a limited income, what happens is, even though you can technically borrow more money, you actually physically can't borrow more money because you can't afford to actually service the debt and the expenses that come along with that debt. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because the properties don't always pay for themselves, right? And they may pay for themselves right now, but then if rates increase in 2 or 3 years' time, they may not pay for themselves then. So all of a sudden, then you've got that liability. So it's a balancing act of going, yes, I can buy more properties if I buy it in a personal name, but what is the reality of me actually doing that? Because most people don't have the tolerance to stress and like financial stretch that I personally have and other people have, right? Like most people get stressed when they're like, fuck, I've got all these expenses, big overheads. You know, if something goes wrong, I'm 1 minute away from catastrophe. And if you're not wired that way, then carrying a high level of debt, stretching every dollar as far as it can go is probably not a healthy thing. So using the bank serviceability, parameters, they're there for a reason, obviously, can be somewhat advantageous. So I'm in two minds of these things. Like I think it's really beneficial, but I just don't think it's beneficial for every single person. And then like you sound quite young, right?
Yeah, I'm like 30.
Yeah. Have you got kids?
No kids.
Yeah. Have you got a partner and plan to have kids?
Yeah, I hope so.
Sure. So, you think like, I think about life in long term and you're like, okay, what happens then you have kids, you have a wife stops working, you have more kids cost money, all of a sudden you got all this debt, you probably sell the properties because it becomes stressful. I just think about things very logically like that. So what sounds like a really cool idea right now may be very different in 5 years' time when your life's dramatically different. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So a really cool short-term win is like putting as much money as you can in your offset account, decreasing that debt as fast as you can. Like if you can get to a debt-free owner-occupier property, even though I don't believe in buying owner-occupier properties for myself, doesn't mean it's not for everyone. I just don't believe it for myself. That's a really, like I got off a call with a client earlier today. They're in their early 30s and they were debt-free. Their property's in Brisbane worth $1 million. And all of a sudden they've got like $1.5 million worth of borrowing capacity to go and invest. And like in their early 30s, they go buy 1 or 2 investments over the next couple of years and they're living pretty awesome when they get to retirement.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that answered your question.
No, that's cool. Thanks, mate. I appreciate your time.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a necessity to go down the trust route. I think it's like a balancing act between patience, paying off your debt, trying to increase your income, and do everything you can to progress in your career and your life, and just knowing that every time you can invest, it's a good idea to do so.
Yeah. Yeah, cool. Make more money always, hey?
Mate, fuck, I know. It sounds like I'm repeating myself, but it's fucking, I'm telling you right now. Once you understand how to do it, it's key.
Mm.
And the best, if like, what do you do for work?
Friggy.
Go to work tomorrow, go to your boss and say, hey, Mr. Boss, I want to fucking make 100 grand more next year. What do I have to do inside of your business to do that? He might say, get fucked, and he's probably not the right boss. But if my guys say that to me, they go, hey, I want to make 100 grand more next year. How do I do it? I say, cool, add $1 million of value to the business. Then they have a job to do. Go and add $1 million of value to the business. How do you do that? Get more sales, build the brand bigger, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
I just make that sound super simple, but that's really how you do it. It's like, how do you add more value to the company that you work with or that you own? And that's your job every day, is to add more value. And then the more value you add, the more money you make. It's a direct correlation.
100%.
Legend, bro. And fridgies make good money. I know it.
Yeah.
Good shit, man. Keep going hard.
Yeah, cheers. Will do.
The Roy Skillen. Here he is. You there, Roy?
Hi, mate. Yeah.
Yes, gotcha.
How you doing?
Mate, I am good. You sound like you're from the shores of Ireland.
Close, Liverpool.
Close. Sorry.
Just a boat trip away.
Mate, hit me.
Yeah, a couple of things. Actually, we've made some pretty bad property decisions in the past, but we're kind of getting our feet settled again. We've got an apartment at the moment in Mornington in Victoria. Don't know if you know it.
No, well, yeah. Just south of Frankston.
Just south of Frankston, that's the one.
Yeah.
It's got a pretty high mortgage on it. We owe like 700,000. We were thinking of using it just for business. So one thing we were wondering is would our mortgage be fully tax deductible? Our accountant says no, but we just wanted to confirm that with you if that would be possible.
Don't listen to me. I'm not your accountant. Yeah, if the ATO comes knocking, you're like, yeah, fuck it, guy Jack Henderson. He said it was fully tax deductible. That's funny. So do you live in that apartment now?
No. So we had someone in there. They've just moved out, and we're kind of trying to figure out what to do with it. So that was one option.
But it should be fully tax deductible regardless, because it's an investment property.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's true. Yeah. Okay.
Like, if you're not living there, it's an investment, which means all the expenses out of your pocket are tax deductible.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
unless there's some other shifty stuff going on that I'm not aware of, but yeah, if it's an investment property, it's definitely tax deductible.
The other thing that we were thinking to do with the property is to potentially use it as an Airbnb.
Okay.
But then today we actually got an offer that's a little bit above market value. So we're kind of thinking, well, do we just cash in and then just use the money we make from it to kind of start again and buy somewhere else with a lower mortgage and all that type of stuff?
Why do you want a lower mortgage?
Well, we're renting somewhere else.
Yeah.
And we're paying $1,200 a week for that on the mortgage at the moment because there's no one in it.
Yeah, but when someone goes back in it, how much does it cost you guys?
600 still.
That's okay. And is it a good property or is it a shithole?
No, it's only 3 years old. It's an apartment not far from the beach.
Okay.
So we just don't know whether to kind of keep hold of it. And yeah.
Well, look, the variable to that question of whether I should keep hold of it or not shouldn't be whether the mortgage feels big or does not feel big. It should be whether it's a good property or it's not a good property. Like, if you have a $700,000 mortgage, how much is the property worth? Like, what was the offer?
Nearly 1.2.
Cool. So you got a $700,000 mortgage on a $1.15 million property.
Yeah.
If that property goes from being worth 1.15 to being worth 2.3 over the next 10 to 15 years,
yeah,
having a $700,000 mortgage doesn't make it less of a good property. It's just you have a mortgage on a property that's worth 3 times or 4 times the amount of your mortgage.
Yeah.
So you don't just want to take quick money off the table now because it's
okay.
Good. That's the important thing. If it's I don't know the property, right? So I can't say yes, it's good, keep it. No, it's not. But if it's in a good street, if it's got a nice outlook, it's not an off the plan, high density shithole. If it's got a lot going for it, then
yeah, it is good. It is good.
Cool. Then selling it and having a lesser mortgage and going to buy a property that's lesser good is not a better. It's not a better option from my point of view.
All right.
It's a worse option. You just need to put tenants back in it, or if you can Airbnb it and you think it's going to give you a greater rental yield, you just need to make sure you calculate your numbers based on all expenses going into those calcs, because Airbnb costs, 15 to 20% of your total management, of your total income in management.
Okay.
And then, you got to work that for the first 12 months, your occupancy will likely be much lower than what you want it to be, because you've got no reviews and all the rest of it. It takes time to build that up.
Yeah.
So it is a drag. Like I've got an Airbnb myself, and it's good, but you weigh it up and it's not significantly better than just having a full-time tenant in there.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, we've done some basic numbers, but we'll probably have to look into it a bit more. Would you recommend going through, because we've looked at potentially going through those Airbnb management companies that help you look after it, or just do it yourself?
Yeah. Doing it yourself, you mean like doing everything yourself, washing the sheets, fucking...
Yeah, everything, yeah.
Depends, man. I don't know. Well, I don't know what your life's like, but my life's busy. So
no, the wife loves cleaning. So she's like, I'll just clean everything. When they move out, I'll do everything.
Does she love cleaning 4 times a week when 4 new people go in and out of there, and then there's a bucks party and the joint's fucked and you got to clean it? Like, sounds cool. I don't know. Like Airbnb management is good because it's easy. All you just have to worry about the money, because like there's a lot that goes into an Airbnb. Like every time someone checks in, every time someone checks out, every time at the property, they need someone to talk to Sunday, Monday, regardless of the day, time of day.
Okay.
Every time there's something that gets broken, guess who's got to go to the shops to get new stuff? You guys do. Every time, there's just a lot of shit that goes into managing them.
Okay.
My beautiful girlfriend does ours for us. That's her gig. That's part of her gig. Yeah, man, it's just, it's it can be good, but it takes time.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's it for now. I mean, we are looking at, we've only got, like I said, 500,000 in is it equity in there. We've looked at potentially taking some out to buy somewhere else, but still not sure. We've got to decide what we're going to do with this place first, I suppose.
If it's a good property, my 2 cents, don't sell it. If it's a shit property, sell it. Don't sell it based on the size of the mortgage, because the reality is in 2025, 700 grand ain't a big mortgage.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind actually sending you an email maybe and having a bit more of a detailed chat about it. Would that be all right?
Yeah, jack@henderson.com.au. Just to be super upfront, unlikely you're going to get me out of these things for like a detailed chat. You'll speak with the team.
No, whoever.
Yeah, but that's easy done.
Yeah. All right, awesome. All right,
Cheers,
thanks for your help.
Thanks, man. Ciao.
Yeah, mate. Bye. Bye.
All right. Someone put their hand up before. They were absolutely frothing. I think I've lost a person now. Q&A. All right. The people who have put questions in that is anonymous, I unfortunately can't answer those because I don't know who you are to allow you to speak. Here we go. Tommy Bevan, the Great. Oh, Tom, I can't allow you to talk because you're on an older version. Oh, no, here he is. The Bev, you there? Oh, there he is. Hey, Tom.
Yeah, how you going?
Gotcha.
Yeah, I think I'm only got half of my question on there.
Yeah, mate, just let it rip right now.
Well, we got approved for 2 investment properties, 2 loans at 850 each, and I was just wondering, this time around, would it be better just to go one probably better asset than 2 smaller ones?
When you say this time around, you got other properties?
Yeah, we've got our principal place of residence, a block of land, and 3 investments.
Mate, fucking oath, well done.
Thanks.
Block of land.
It's just up the north coast, and we haven't really done anything with it. Just had it for about 4 years, just sitting there. We didn't know if we'd probably one day build on it, or we've done nothing with it.
There you go, just fucking block of land hanging out in the back pocket for later.
Yeah, I was going to camp on it, but it's pretty overgrown.
Mate, I got a bobcat and a mulcher if you want to use it. Those things are weapons.
That's what we need.
So 2 850 loans, so you got what total capacity of about 1.7 mil?
Yeah.
Solid. So look, pros and cons to each. Obviously, you go 1.7, your rental yield's going to be pretty slim.
Yeah.
You could potentially, like, how old are you now?
38.
38. And what's the longer term goals?
Oh, I just wanted to get a few under our belt and just sit on them for a while, and like
I'll probably just keep it simple. I just want to properties, chill out, cut the grass on my block in the North Coast, and then just say,
and go motorbike riding.
Yeah, absolutely. The downside to going up in purchase price is rental yield gets lower, which means out-of-pocket expense gets higher. You know, that's unfortunately a thing that happens when you go higher in price. The pro to it is you could get a better asset. Doesn't necessarily mean guaranteed you're going to get higher growth, but you have more opportunity to buy something good. What are the other properties in the portfolio, the other 3 that you mentioned, just so I've got context on the current holding?
We've got there's one in Brisbane.
Yep. Whereabouts?
Thornlands.
Okay.
And 2 in your favourite spot, WA.
Fuck yeah.
Yep.
There we go. That's great. I'm sure they've done well in the short term, yeah?
Yeah, we only paid, I think, $480 for one of them and $640 for the other a while ago.
What are they worth now? Over $1 million each?
One's the 480's like 760 or 750, and the other one, we only bought that one about a year ago, so I don't think it's done that much.
Yeah, right.
But the Brisbane one's probably 300k up.
Yeah, and where's the owner rock? Where do you guys live?
In Newcastle.
QT, whereabouts?
Stockton, the other side of the water, overseas.
Oh, good.
But I bought that one when I was about 24, so it's done pretty well.
Jump on the ferry. Shit, that's funny. Look, 1.7 high. It's a good budget. I probably wouldn't use all of it. Like if you could spend 1.2 to 1.4, if you wanted to buy something else in Newey, for example, you get a really good dual occupancy house in a granny flat, good area, and you'll get like 5.5% rental yield on that spend.
Yeah.
We just bought a cracker for a client in Brett Street, Georgetown. I want to say we just at the end of last year. We paid 1.4 for that, and that's leased both the granny and the house, I believe, for $1,450 or something like that.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Very good. If you would have spent $1.4 million in Merriweather, you'd get something back at Merriweather, and it'd be leased for $650, $700 a week.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so that's the difference between the dual occupancy.
Yeah, nice. Well, that's something to think about.
That's what I do. Combine them two. Just don't. I mean, go to 1.7. You're just going to have a lower yield. If you spend like 1.2 to 1.4, solid.
Yeah. All right. Sounds good.
Good on you, legend.
Thank you, mate.
See you in Stockton soon.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Laura Morris, you are next cab off the rank. Here we go. You there, Laura?
Yeah. How you going, Jack?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you.
That's good. Hit me.
Just like my question said, I was just wondering how you went about your accelerator assets. Like, do you look at a property, obviously know you want to buy it, and then sort of like project a cost that the renovation will cost, or do you take out an original loan that is obviously larger so you can use the extra for the renovation?
It depends on the individual or the client, or if it's us, it depends on where we're at. Generally what happens, and we've gotten significantly better at this than when we first started, we know how much renovations cost now because we've done so many of them and we are doing so many of them. So let's say you used one for $890. I think that was one on Denison Street that we bought.
Yeah.
We bought that for $890. That was for a client. That was not for us. They spent, like you said, $160, I think, on the loan. $160, on the reno, and they paid cash for that reno. So I think they had total cash of like $350 originally. They used a portion of it for depositing costs on the $890,000 property. And then they had, $200,000 left over, and we spent $160 of that, say, on the reno. And then once the reno's done, we go back to the bank, we get the reval done, and then they refinance 80% of the new valuation, and they pull out all of the capital that they can, which obviously increases their debt, but they get all their cash back out of the deal. Now, if you had equity, for example, in another property, like if you own other real estate, you could release the equity from that property and then use the equity to renovate the property. Or you could get a construction loan that just adds another layer of complexity to the renovation, and it makes things slower because every time you want to make a claim to pay your builder, you've got to go back to the bank, provide them with all the shit, they pay it, takes time, it's annoying.
So do you think, like, personally you'd prefer to do, you take equity out from another property, and then say when you got the reval, you'd obviously put that equity back into the original property that you got it from, and then take the rest to move on and do something else with that?
Probably not. I'd probably use all the equity to go buy another property, because the equity sitting in your other investment property is dead money anyway if it's just sitting there. So let's say you pull 150 out, you spent the 150 on a property, you got a $250,000 increase in value. You'd pull out your 150 plus probably 60 grand on top of that, which would give you 210,000. And then you'd go and use that money again for the deposit. So you've essentially created 60 out of 150.
Yeah, no, cool. Yeah, sure.
Sure. Are you based in Newcastle?
No, I'm in Adelaide.
Radelaide. Cameron from my team absolutely crushes flips in Adelaide.
Yeah.
So if you're on Instagram, follow him. His name's Cameron Hollerbeck. I think his username is Cam Holler. He does heaps of flips for himself in Adelaide. And he'll have lots of good value we can add to your situation.
No, sweet. Thank you. I just have one other quick question.
Hit me.
In terms of like your own like personal development and stuff, have you done like specific courses? Like obviously you've got a team that do renovations and that, but did you do, when you were first starting, do you have like certificates and anything? Did you do any like renovation courses, all that sort of stuff? Like at the beginning?
So I worked in the construction industry, civil construction though, which is obviously not residential building. So I had somewhat of an idea. But no, I've done it in an expensive way, which is to learn on the go. Would I recommend doing it? Probably not, because I made lots of mistakes and I still make mistakes now on my own shit. Yeah, but that's how I've learned. I've just bought shit, muck things up, fucking miscalculated shit, and just kept rolling with the punches. But there's lots of really cool things you can do to renovate, like courses like the Three Birds Renovation School, like that's meant to be really, really good. Just start with simple things if you want to get into developing, and you can learn the majority of it online. Like just start with a simple buy and renovate, or a buy and build a duplex, or a buy and keep the existing dwelling and subdivide off the rear. Because even if you make mistakes on those things, the mistakes a lot of the time aren't going to send you broke.
Yeah. No, cool. Yeah,
I learn on the run, which is the most expensive way to do it, because you're playing with real money, not pretend money.
Yeah. Oh, sounds like fun anyway.
Sometimes. All righty.
Cool. Thank you.
Thanks, Laura. Ciao. Da 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 da. Chris, darling. Hit me, Chris. Chris, you there? Hello. Hello. No, Chris. Must be having dinner. Who's next? Amy. Here we go. You there, Chris? No. Righty. Amy. Oh. You there, Amy? Hello. Oh. No one wants to talk to Jack. No one wants to talk to Jack. All right. Is there any more questions before I jump off? Oh, well, there's one here. No, there's not a question. No one wants to talk to me. All right. Here we go. Oh, Kurt wants to talk to Jack. There we go. Allow to talk. You there, Kurt?
G'day, mate. Another from Adelaide. Two
mate,
for two.
No one wants to talk. Oh, shit.
I just talked.
You're still there. You're still there. There we go. Fuck yeah. How are you, bro?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, man. What's the news?
I'm from Adelaide as well, so two from two there.
Adelaide. There we go.
Taken over.
Great place.
My question I put through was, I'm in a bit of a position where from the whole thing you've been talking, increase the income. So there's my first answer. But I've been building my business the last 2 years, but I'm sitting in a pretty healthy spot overall. I've owned my house since I was 22, so I owe less than 200 grand on it. I've been sitting on 2% for the last 3.5 years, and I've got another half a year to go. We've got probably 250 equity in my current owner occupier.
Yep.
And I'm wanting to obviously start getting into property more as another investment vehicle. But I've also got a fair bit in stocks, and the missus is selling her owner occupier, so we will be sitting on a fair bit of cash soon. My question was more around my actual home. It's so cheap for me to live here that I almost feel locked by the house, because it would feel silly to go rent anywhere else for how cheap I'm living now. And for me, I don't really care about the actual living standard of the house. My house is not overly shit, but I'm not fussed. But
I love that.
would be willing to sell. What's that? Sorry?
Yeah, it's not overly shit. You're like,
Oh,
yeah,
it's just
overly
if hear
shit.
the neighbor fart, it's like too close to a neighbor. So, apart from that though, like I don't personally care about holding on to it forever if it meant making a smarter decision elsewhere. With my, obviously, just roughly, would you be looking to keep a cheaper owner occupier because it would cost me more to rent anywhere, or sell it down to obviously use all my money to go and put into a proper investment? Because one of the things I've learned from you is obviously you want 20, 30 plus years of data out of the suburb. The suburb I'm living in was a house and land package. So it's had good growth the last few years, but I owned it for 7 years and it went up 30 grand.
Sure.
And then all the growth happened in the last little pocket while the area's gotten a bit bigger.
Yeah. So it's an interesting, I mean, you wouldn't shush, JJ. You wouldn't sell that property, I don't think, to go and rent somewhere else, because like you said, it's super cheap. You're on a 2% interest rate and you've almost got no debt, which is great. I would really focus on decreasing that debt down to zero. And if you said, or like you said, you're not worried about where you live and what you live in, so stay there, right? The lower your living expenses are, the better. The reason I talk about rent vesting and renting where you live as opposed to owning is because if you went and bought something today at a 6.5% interest rate, the numbers would look very different, right? So it's generally cheaper to rent that property as opposed to own it. Where you're on a 2% interest rate, you've got very low debt, so it's probably not the same scenario for you. So I would focus on decreasing that debt to zero, be debt-free, continue to grow your business, and then invest all the money you can after paying your home off to zero. And that's what's going to set you up for a pretty cushy life later down the track.
Within that, my missus is selling. We're waiting on settlement. It keeps getting pushed back. It's been a pain in the ass. But once that clears, we will have about 150 from that. And
she's happy to put that into the property. Like, do you own the property, or you own it together?
I own this one and she's selling hers, her property.
And will she use that money to pay off the debt that's attached to yours?
Yeah, she's willing to. Silly girl, but yeah, no, she is willing to.
Silly girl, no, that's you're onto a winner. You're onto a winner there. Yeah, man, I would do that. I would use that cash, pay it off, and then go and invest off the back of that.
Yeah, she also works for a bank at the moment. She works for Bendigo, so she gets good deals through them as well. So I'm not sure if we can use that somehow as well when it comes time for getting another place, like an investment.
Sure. Yeah, you would speak to Bendigo first, and then you would also speak to a broker to make sure that you are getting
the best deal.
Yeah, or getting not the best deal for you, not necessarily the best deal as such.
Yeah.
All right. So, man, pay off that home. I mean, if your missus is open to it, I would pay the home off, and then go and look at what investing looks like off the back of it for sure.
Yeah, cool.
Legend, man.
Thank you for that.
My absolute pleasure, bro. Keep going hard.
Cheers.
Oh. Chris, the great. All right. Is your mic working?
Can you hear me now?
Gotcha.
Excellent. 3 from 3 from Adelaide, by the way.
Oh, there we go. How's the Adelaide crowd?
Question was, got some equity in our owner-occupier and investment property, but struggling with serviceability. So that's the age-old question.
Yeah.
And just wondering, mechanisms of getting neutral property versus going joint venture with somebody? What are the pros and cons?
So elaborate on neutral property.
Oh, sorry, like an investment within, say, a trust that has, neutral.
Oh yeah,
neutral to slightly negative potentially. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, if you've got no serviceability now, the trust thing won't work. You need to have serviceability for that to work.
Yeah. Even if it's neutral.
Yeah, because you won't have any borrowing capacity when you go to the bank to say, hey, how much money can I borrow in a trust? They're going to say, how much debt have you got currently and what's your income? Oh, you can't borrow anything in a trust.
Yeah.
You need to have serviceability inside of the trust before you can go, or you need to have serviceability generally. Again, I'm not going to say anything is revolutionary here with the mechanisms, but there is only a few mechanisms. 1, decrease your current debt. 2, increase your income. Or 3, go and find someone who has what you don't have. So if you've got if you've got capital or equity that you can use for a deposit and costs, and you've got a friend or a family member who has serviceability but no capital,
yes,
owning 50% of something is better than owning 100% of nothing. So as long as the JV as such is set up correctly, it can be super advantageous.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the way to go.
Yeah. But, you just have to make sure that you've got a super tight agreement with whoever you're going into the deal with. Because it's essentially a business, right? Lots of people have the greatest intentions going into it, but that changes when money's involved. That's how.
Of course, yes.
So yeah, that's the only way to do it.
Yep. So within a trust, for example, you're saying having the serviceability, it's just like having it in your own personal name, but it's in the trust. Still so the same rules around serviceability.
You need to have personal serviceability for it to work in a trust, because you still guarantee the debt through your personal income.
Yeah. Even if it's a, like I was saying, if it's a positive investment, for example.
Yep.
And you can show that to the bank.
Yeah, that will recycle your serviceability. So
yes.
Then if it was positive and you could get an accountant to write you a letter to saying this entity covers all of its own expenses.
Yes.
Then you can exclude that debt from your next purchase. But at the moment, you have debt in your personal name of which you can't exclude.
Right. Okay. So it's for the next one, not for the getting the first one. Yeah.
If you do the first one inside of a trust, it just means you have all of your serviceability again and again and again.
Yes. Yes. Correct. Which was not done, and regretting. Yes.
Most people do. Most people haven't done it, so you're not alone.
Excellent. No, that answers my question. Thank you.
My pleasure, man. Take care. Ciao. Okay, 2 more questions, and then I'm going to bounce. Amy, I'm going to answer your question because I tried before. You there?
Yes, I'm here.
Ah, there we go. Second time's a charm.
Awesome. I don't know if you read my question, but I have
Sorry, I had my mic switched off, or the other one?
No, the one before it.
Yeah, I saw. Yep, cool. Hit me.
All right, so I've got a property that's valued at about 1.4. We bought it a year ago for 1.3. We're on the Central Coast. We've got 600K owing on it, but ever since following you, I kind of am inclined to sell and either buy something and not have a mortgage, and then buy some investment properties against my house. Or would you say that I should rent and then use my property as deposits for investments?
Yes, it's a great question. So I'm assuming when you bought the property, if you paid 1.3 for it and you've only got 600 of debt, you must have put down a pretty big deposit.
Yeah, we did.
Okay. And how old are you guys?
We are mid-30s.
Mid-30s, so you got plenty of time.
Yeah.
Well, and what's the reason that you think it may be a better idea to sell it and have no debt and own your home?
Yeah, we'd rather have no debt and have a life. We've got 4 kids, so.
There you go.
Yeah.
So, and when you say have a life, you mean like have surplus money to be able to do shit?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, well, I mean, fuck, that's what everyone does, right? They go and get a big mortgage and they just pay it off forever and unfortunately live shit lives most of the time.
Yeah, that's social expectations we're trying to avoid.
Yeah, well, I mean, you just answered your own question, right? If you think that it's going to make your quality of life better by not having that debt, then that's a good thing. But you're not going to have, if you use, let's say you sell your property for 1.4, you got 600 worth of debt, you'll come out with say 800, round numbers. You go buy something for 800. I don't know if you're going to be happy living in something for 800 or not. But if you aren't and you use that 800 for investments, you're still then going to have a cost to renting somewhere, right? And that's not going to be avoidable.
Yeah, but is it not significantly lower?
Well, if you've only got a $600,000 mortgage, it'll probably be somewhat relevant to that.
Yeah.
Like your mortgage repayments, I'm assuming, would be roughly
$3,000 a month.
I was going to say $900 a week or something.
Yes.
$800 to $900 a week, maybe.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you're not really going to rent something much cheaper than that, right?
Yeah, no, but the thing about we were thinking, because my husband's a handyman, so if we were to buy something that had no debt on it,
yeah,
and then he flipped it, that's kind of where our train of thought was.
Yeah, well, so you could buy something, renovate it with the hubby doing the handyman thing, and add value to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no brainer, right? You make some money that way.
Yeah, but then would you say sell or would you say invest in properties?
They're two different outcomes. So the way to think about an owner-occupier property is you're creating a nest egg of which one day you will need to sell to give you a life.
Yeah.
If you invest along the way, you are building your life along the way.
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking of a retirement plan as well.
Yeah, well, the retirement plan for most people is have an awesome owner-occupier home, have no debt on it, sell it, and then get all the money out of it. That's the retirement.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I just think a little bit differently, which is like, instead of having a home that you pay down to zero over a long period of time and then have to sell it, why not just have investments that'll give you the life that you end up selling down your home for to get anyway?
Yeah, which is kind of the page that I am on.
Yeah. So again, it's still going to cost money. It's gonna not really going to change your life dramatically right now, but over time it will.
Yeah. Okay. But so one more question. Sorry. If we were to go the path of buying a property worth 800 and then not having a mortgage on it and then borrowing against that property to buy investment properties, is that another path we could take?
For sure. But then you're still going to have debt that's then going to cost money. Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to cost money. But then 30 years down the track, we've got a few properties that, and like I said, my husband's a handyman, so we would definitely source the properties with dual occupancy and then flip them.
Yeah, well, look, that's a cool thing. I mean, you obviously you need to weigh up the opportunity cost. If you've got a property worth 1.4 million today, all things being equal, 1.4 million in 10 years' time is going to be worth 2.8.
Yeah.
If you only have a property worth 800 in 10 years' time, it's going to be worth 1.6. So it is costing you money by getting rid of the mortgage naturally because you're lowering the value of the asset that you're going to be in, even though it's debt free.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha.
So there's pros and cons to all of it.
But I'm on the right track.
Sure. The way that you're thinking is the right way to think. It's like, well, what's going to give me a better quality of life? If you had a debt-free owner-occupier property of 800, and then you also went and invested and used the $3,000 a month that you're spending right now on an owner-occupier mortgage to cash flow the difference between the rent and the mortgage on your investments.
Yeah.
And that is a better thing because that 3,000 then is tax deductible.
Okay. Yeah. Gotcha.
Make sense?
All right. Yes. Thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure.
See ya.
Okay. Ciao. And lucky last, Mr. Alistair French. He's back again, the great man.
Hey, Jack, you there?
Hey, you know what I just realised when I read your name? What did I realise?
What was that? What was that?
I didn't call you on Saturday.
No, it's all right. Busy man. We understand. Busy.
I'm gonna call you tomorrow. Ready? Hey, Siri. Please remind me tomorrow at 8 a.m. to call Alistair French. No, I won't forget. There you go. Hit me.
Obviously, I've seen your videos on what you're doing with Settlers Rest.
Yes.
What are your long-term goals there? And then breaking that down, where is the point that someone decides, if they're handy to do that? Obviously not on the scale of Settlers Rest, but someone could buy a 5-acre property and turn that into, a wedding venue, function centre. Where's the point where someone decides I'm going to use my equity and do that?
Mate, that is a great question. So I'll answer the first part of the question. Gosh, dogs. I'll answer the first part of the question first. The plan with this is to, own an incredible bit of real estate and be able to increase the value of the real estate, not just by the marketplace increasing, but by us being able to build a business and a revenue stream off it, which will make the piece of real estate significantly more expensive or more valuable. Plus, it'll be a profitable business, which will be good for cash flow. And it'll be somewhere to enjoy. We love spending time here as well, which is also cool. On top of that, the brand we will build, being Settlers, will then become my long-term vision is to have multiple venues, because once you have the model for one venue, you know how to acquire customers, which are obviously people getting married, you know how much things cost, blah, 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 blah. You can then hopefully rinse and repeat the model. We'll go from having a country estate, which is what this is, to having one by the ocean, to having one, fucking in Byron Bay, whatever it is. So that's the long-term plan. When should someone do this is a variable question. I actually had a call with a prospective client a couple of weeks ago, and they were looking at doing it. They had a $5.5 million budget. They had $2 million in cash to be able to put towards it. And when I looked at their feasibility, they didn't have enough money. Because the issue with things, well, not the issue, it is an issue actually. The issue with things like this is that they are very expensive to get off the ground, and they don't generate income for a long period of time. So you need to have a lot of cash flow to be able to, sustain the mortgage. Just we've got like 5 full-time staff here, then we've got no money coming in the door, which means I'm paying for those people with other money. It just costs so much money. That's the issue with it. It will make a lot of money, but it's like anything. You need to either have partners in it, which will fund it until it becomes profitable. And if they fund it, you need to give them equity, or you personally need to have a lot of cash. The positive thing, if you have a business already in a similar field, is like, we already know how to run Facebook ads. We know how to market through my, personal brand and through other businesses. We have a building company. Like, there's all these things that make it easier, but it's still pretty hectic. It's way more expensive than I anticipated it to be. So in answer to your question, you would need to not just have equity, but you'd need to have something that's delivering you a lot of income to have surplus income to spend on this shit.
Yeah. Okay. And so even if that was on a much smaller scale to what you're doing, you still stand by that sort of principle?
Yeah, because we're actually still not, we have a 1,500 acre property, but we're only spending money on fucking 3 or 4 acres of it. Because the majority of it you can't spend money on because it's just a big block of land, right? You run cattle and shit on. All of the money is being spent around the homestead and the wedding hall and stuff like that. So I think even if we only had a 50 acre property or a 5 acre property, the spend would still be somewhat relative or similar. If you wanted to do it as a business, I think it's cool because you're starting a business in events, obviously. Pretty hard to go wrong in weddings as well, I think. And then you've got real estate attached to it, which is awesome. But if you're just trying to do it as a real estate play, I think it'd be hard.
Yep. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for that.
There's easier, more passive ways to make money in real estate than doing what we're doing, for sure. Alrighty.
Yes. Thank you. Thanks
I'll
for answering that. I appreciate it.
Mate, my pleasure. All right. I hope everyone found that valuable. That was an hour and a half. You won't believe it, but we'll be back here again next week, folks. So have a stellar week. Obviously everyone I'm assuming who's here is in the group as well, in my little flamingos group on my Instagram. So use that as well to ask questions, to get conversations going. Because I hear and see all the things that go in there. So I want to be able to help you guys offline as well as obviously on these calls every single week. And if you have any feedback or thoughts or recommendations on how these could be better, please share them with me. In the meantime, enjoy. I'm going to have a cup of tea and have a good night's sleep. Ciao for now, folks.